Hello and welcome back to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally and we are looking at a real fan favorite here. There is a section of the Gilead graduation that functions as some kind of a little talk show with interactions. It's really great. Last year we got the revelation that they are okay with having an 11-year-old pioneer. And I found it quite fascinating. So it's my personal favorite section of the Gilead graduation. I did record videos that I was planning on releasing like every single day. I don't know when this one's going to come out in the space-time YouTube continuum, but it doesn't really much matter. Anyway, with all of that being said, let's jump into the Thunderdome, put on your tinfoil hats, buckle those seat belts, and get ready to hit that 1.21 gigawatts on the flux capacitor, because things are about to get wild. Well, I haven't actually watched this video, so maybe they're going to be very boring. I don't know. Anyway, YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, that thing.
Life is often compared to music. It has high notes as well as some low notes, isn't that true? But together they compose a melody that is unique to ourselves. Where does that melody go? For faithful worshipers, it goes directly to Jehovah's heart. You see, he greatly values not just the accomplishments in our lives, but the journey itself. So today we're going to hear from 3 students in our Gilead class of 151. As you listen to their journey, can you hear their song? Let's get started. I'm sure you'll enjoy meeting our first guests, Joel and Adrian Grimm, on this edition of The Inside Story.
So I have to be honest, one thing I was actually looking forward to when I watched the initial Gilead graduation that they released as part of their monthly broadcasting was the inside story. And I thought, oh, maybe they did away with it because so many people were making fun of it. But no, they wanted to release it as a standalone video. And I think we got an answer to a question about why there was some very odd editing in what's his name? Kenneth Cook in his section when he was giving like the initial presentation. So maybe that was what was edited out, was him introducing this video. I don't exactly know, but we do get this as a standalone video. We get the little Conan O'Brien sort of studio entry thing that's happening here. It's fantastic. So I'm excited to see what sort of wild, ridiculous stories that we get to hear this year on The Inside Story. Camera looks weird.
Adrian, your theocratic goal started at a very early age. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, my parents had helped me to know that I wanted to serve Jehovah early. And then when I was around 11, there were 5 young single pioneer sisters that all moved into my congregation as need graders. So, of course, they were my heroes. And one of them knew some American Sign Language, and she started conducting Bible studies and interpreting the meeting for the deaf in the area. And she started teaching me a little bit, too. I was trying to help out.
My parents had helped me to realize that I wanted to serve Jehovah early. I think this is just a euphemism for, yes, I was indoctrinated at an extremely young and impressionable age. I think it's so funny that this one is starting exactly the same as the last the last one. I mean, the last one, of course, we had was it a 10 or 11-year-old pioneer? And then she's like, yes, we had some need graders move into our congregation when I was 11 years old, and I really looked up to them. So our story, our sort of hero arc for our protagonist is beginning at 10 or 11 years old. I don't know why Watchtower is so obsessed in this segment of the Gilead graduation with highlighting this aspect, but it is really funny to me that they're always starting the story at 10 or 11 years old.
Conducting Bible studies and interpreting the meeting for the deaf in the area. And she started teaching me a little bit too. I was trying to help out.
Is that you there at 11 years of age?
That's me and my little brother. I think about that time. Yeah. So a few years later, when I was a teenager, this sister had to leave the area. And so there were the Bible studies there. So I was trying to help out as much as I could. But it was challenging then because there were no sign language publications yet.
Yeah, so how did you do that without any publications?
I tried different things. One thing is every Saturday night you would find me sitting with the Watchtower on one knee and a sign language dictionary on the other knee, and I would just look up every word.
So now we get a portal in what it's like being a Jehovah's Witness teenager. She says that she was a teenager, and how would she spend her Saturday nights? It would be with one of the Watchtower publications on one knee and a dictionary in the other knee, because she was trying to help some Bible studies, doing what Watchtower couldn't, working hard for free as a teenager. And that is exactly what it's like being a Jehovah's Witness. You are 100% focused on how can I do more free work for Watchtower so that way everyone thinks I'm cool, and maybe they'll bring me on a convention part and tell my story. Woohoo! Yeah! It's so sad. It is so unbelievably sad that, and she specifies it. She's a teenager. This is how she spends her Saturday nights, is doing free work that Watchtower at the time wasn't willing to do for themselves. But no doubt in my mind, and well, there's a little bit of doubt, but I predict, I haven't watched this yet, but I predict that she's going to say, and what a blessing it was when we did finally have publications or literature available to us, and heaping praise on Watchtower. So they're going to divert the praise from this woman that was a teenager and working hard for free, and they're going to divert that into Watchtower. I could be wrong here, so let's see how it plays out. But I'll take the L if I am wrong.
You mean you looked up every word?
Yeah, it was the best I could do at the time. But I got a lot of help too, because the deaf were so kind and so generous in helping me and so patient. I remember this one time having a sign language conversation with a young girl about my age in the back of the Kingdom Hall, and she signed something and I couldn't understand. So I asked her to repeat it. She repeated it, but I still wasn't getting it. And we just went back and forth with her trying every way she could think of to try to get me to understand, until I just had tears going down my face, but we kept at it. And finally I got it. And I remember we just hugged because I finally understood. But it was that kind of patience and kindness that I saw over and over again that just really touched my heart.
Now, mind you, her heart and this kindness and this patience that she is talking about has nothing to do with something coming from Watchtower or a Jehovah's Witness. This is coming from one of the Bible students at the time. So when she's giving this experience of feeling this love and this kindness and this patience, it's from someone that's not one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Just something interesting that I caught on to.
Yeah. Well, that experience touches our heart too. Later you met Joel. And Joel, you were serving at Bethel at the time, and things worked out. Adrian, you became a Bethel bride. And then later you both decided to join the sign language congregation.
This is a new expression for me. You became a Bethel bride. What? What? Like, you became a Bethel bride. What is that? So if you were a Bethelite and serving there and you get engaged, then you become a Bethel bride if you get accepted? What do you get if you don't get accepted into Bethel? Like a Bethel bozo? You became a Bethel bride. So I find this expression absolutely hilarious. And if anyone out there, and I know there are many people that are former Bethelites and some that are current Bethelites that watch these videos, but if you want to let me know the exact definition of a Bethel bride down in the comments, I would be very interested to know if that is a ubiquitous term or if this is someone that Elmer Fudd, or something that Elmer Fudd has just trotted out for the inside story.
Now, Adrian already knew ASL sign language, right? But Joel, you had to learn it. So how was that for you?
Well, after learning sign language, for one thing, I will never look at 1 Corinthians 9:22 the same way again.
So what does 1 Corinthians 9:22 have to do with learning a language?
Well, that's where Paul says that he became all things to people of all sorts. And that's very true when you're learning a language. Language, it's more than just collecting vocabulary so that you can communicate with someone. You have to get to know the way that person thinks.
Well, there's no doubt that language can affect the way we think. But can you give us an example?
Language can affect the way that we think. That is absolutely true. This goes all the way back to Themistocles and the very beginning of democracy and how the Greek states were using language in order to affect the way that people think. This is a long-standing thing that has happened in society and in groups of people. And this whole new speak, double speak, whatever you want to call it, is so true within the Jehovah's Witness organization. If you're looking for like a proper example of how language can affect the way people think, look no further than the Watchtower. And it's so funny to me that he's bringing this point up. But anyway, it's something that I've been thinking about and something I'm going to be doing a video on in the future. So I just wanted to bring that up. Sorry to throw Themistocles out there. I probably even said his name wrong because I'm a moron.
Sure. Imagine there's two people having a conversation and you want to get to the other side. Now, the way I grew up, my culture is that I need to approach them and excuse myself, be acknowledged, and then I can move on. But in sign language, it's different. If two people are having a signed conversation, they value their eye contact and the flow of their communication much more than they value my idea of what's polite. So in sign language, you just move on straight through the conversation, minimal distraction, no weaving and dancing, bobbing. No, you just go straight on through.
No waving, no dancing, no bobbing, just straight through. We should have applied that to your assignments in class.
There's probably some truth to that. So
it's really interesting that we have an example here of a real loquacious goober that is no doubt infamous for his ability to weave and wander. And as someone that suffers from this exact same thing, I feel his pain. And everyone else in the class is laughing, so no doubt they've felt his pain as well. But I did think it was funny that they're like, oh, we have a moment that was funny and lighthearted in this interview. And so they had to pan to the audience of everyone like, I imagine there was someone holding up like a laugh now or something. And it's like, it just really gave me a giggle that they had to cut to the audience in order to reaffirm the fact that this little interchange of bobbing and weaving in and out of conversations is a really funny moment in this interview, so they had to really give you the full-on zoom of what was going on here. It really tickled me.
It was difficult to adapt, but of course, after some time, I got the hang of it, and there were other adjustments, of course, that you have to make to culture. And I learned a valuable lesson, and that is that language and culture are intrinsically linked. You can't really have one without the other. And if you're learning a new language, you have to just adapt. You have to be willing to change. And the best thing to do is that if there are no scriptural principles involved, just adopt the culture and the value of the native language users.
I wonder if they took those same principles when they made the New World Translation. I'm no expert, but I'll let you decide.
And that's what Paul meant. He said, become all things to people of all sorts.
Well, no doubt Paul was an excellent example in that regard, and it sounds like you were too. So where did your journey in sign language take you next?
Well, there we were at Bethel, but we really were hoping that we would get a chance to go to Gilead. But we were advised that it would be a good idea to pioneer together first. So we left Bethel and we moved to Tennessee and joined a sign language group down there. And we really did love that group.
We sure did. We met some wonderful brothers and sisters, and we had some great experiences there in Tennessee. After a few years, the circuit overseer asked us if we would be willing to move to Texas to support a sign language congregation there. And so we did. And again, just wonderful times, great brothers and sisters. But we're only there about a year, and then we got invited back to Wallkill Bethel. So we went back to Wallkill, and after a few more years there, the brothers called us one day and asked us if we would be willing to transfer to the RTO, the Remote Translation Office in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where they translate into American Sign Language. And we were there for 5 years. This is a picture of the residence buildings there.
Yeah, it looks very beautiful. So
the story that he just told was something that was a little bit interesting on more of a personal level, because this is something that my brother had happen with him. And when he got married, they were like, well, why don't you guys go and pioneer for a year and see if you can stick it out? And then because that was his goal. He wanted to stay at Bethel, even though he was getting married. He was hoping that they could both serve at Bethel together. And they said, hey, why don't we just see if you guys can pioneer together for a year? And within that first year, I think it was like 7 months later, they had a baby. I mean, they didn't want kids, but you know how it goes in Jehovah's Witness land. And then subsequently they managed to accidentally have 5, 6 kids now, something like that. But anyway, I just kind of resonated with that because it's something that he had told me, like, hey, yeah, I know you guys aren't going to be accepted to Bethel as soon as you get married, but you can go and pioneer for a year and then maybe you'll come back or whatever. But they got accepted to this RTO office, and we're doing some more free work for Watchtower. So yeehaw. It looks like these people are some real lifers. Started when they were, at least for her, started when she was a teenager doing free work for Watchtower. And now she's married and moving on with her life and continuing to do free work for Watchtower. It's kind of like being in the Sea Org of Scientology. But Scientology, that's crazy. I mean, they have some wacky ideas. Like, who would ever be a Scientologist? They're crazy. We're not crazy. They're crazy.
how'd you like that assignment?
I loved it. You remember I told you that when I first started in sign language, there were no sign language publications. So then as they started coming out, we had the opportunity to see the impact that those publications had on so many people's lives. So we already treasured those. And then to get a chance to kind of get a glimpse behind the scenes and see how much love and hard work goes into all of those translations really was powerful. I loved it.
As predicted, once they started actually making these publications and she didn't have to be a teenager spending her Saturday nights with one dictionary on one knee and a Watchtower publication on another knee, We really get to see all the love and hard work and the impact that it has and how wonderful it is. I'm sure they're going to stroke themselves just a little bit more to really milk this for all that it has. But I wouldn't say my prediction is 100% correct yet, but we still do have a little bit of time. So let's see what will happen.
Hmm. And so what publication are we looking at here?
So this is when we were working on the very first meeting workbook, and this is when we were working on the sign language version of that one. Really working in the translation department was such a beautiful way to see Jehovah's love for all people.
I'm sure that was excellent, and you learned good lessons there. Joel, how are you affected by supporting the sign language field?
Well, in many ways, but one way is definitely I learned to be more empathetic. Do you mind if I share an experience that happened?
Oh, we'd be pleased to hear it.
I can't stand when they do this. These are absolutely rehearsed. They've rehearsed these, they've gone over them, they've probably written out like a little dialogue or a script. The jokes are planned. This is not like off the cuff at all. So when he's saying, "Oh, do you mind if I share an experience?" He already knows he's going to do an experience, because these things, I get so annoyed when they try and have this bizarre facade of authenticity around these interviews. I've said this, I think, in the last rebuttal I did to the Gilead graduation, and I'll say it again. If you have ever in your life done any type of interview, whether you're the interviewer or the interviewee, you practice this shit so often. You practice it with the person, and then you practice it in front of elders, or you practice it in front of the circuit overseer, and then, I mean, back in my day, I don't want to age myself, then you practice it in front of the district overseer, and then you go over a dress rehearsal on the day of the convention or the assembly. It's ridiculous that they try and have this weird facade. And hey, if someone out there that has attended Gilead and can correct me like, "Oh no, we actually did off the cuff sort of things," then maybe I'm wrong. But I would be shocked if this wasn't rehearsed beforehand, or he didn't actually know and he's like, "Whoa, well, by all means, go ahead. We'd love to hear an experience." You know the experience is going to happen. What would sound more professional would be, "Hey, can you give us an experience and tell us, some of the things that you learned when you were working there in Florida at the RTO office?" Bada bing, bada boom. We're moving on. We don't have to have the big old smile and the laughs. Well, well, you know what? Sounds like we got some time for a story. Slap my knee and let's do the goddamn thing. Oh my God. Okay, we've upset ZZ, so I need to calm down.
Okay. Well, when we were in Tennessee, we had the privilege of studying with a deaf man named Fred. Now, Fred had been to many churches, but he was unsatisfied. The local publishers found him in the ministry, and he agreed to a Bible study. And Fred loved to learn. He especially loved watching the ASL Bible, the portions of it that we had available at that time.
Hello, my name's Wally, and you are? Very nice to meet you, Fred. I'm just one of your neighbors in your local area, just trying to share some encouraging Bible truths with you and some of the neighbors. I just wanted to share one important verse with you found here at Psalms 37, verse 10 and 11. So would you be interested in learning more about what the Bible really teaches? Well, that's fantastic, because I do have a book that I no doubt you'll be very interested to read.
And he also loved to read the Insight volumes. He just had an insatiable desire for knowledge. He would show up to the meetings and he would ask us questions about them. So he might come and say, "Okay, I have 2 questions about Elijah and Elizabeth." And we'd think, "Oh, he's in the E's now." One day, Fred's wife told us a little story. She said that she had found him in the bedroom at home, sitting on the edge of the bed with his eyes closed, just signing. And she thought something was wrong with him. So she interrupted him and said, "What are you doing?" And he told her that he was praying. When I heard that, it touched my heart. It was so beautiful to know that Fred was developing strong faith and that he knew that Jehovah knows sign language and that he was watching his prayers.
It's really funny whenever they go into this narrative of, oh, it was so wonderful, and Jehovah, knows sign language, and he was watching his prayers. If that's the case, let's take this thing to its logical conclusion. How about you there, bucko? How about when you were masturbating last week? Was God watching then? How about when you were showering? Was God watching you then? Is he watching you all the time? Does that make you equally comfortable? Does that seem reasonable to you? You're not a perfect person. If he's watching you all of the time, you're going to slip up and do something wrong. So when you accidentally dumped the recycle into the compost bin and were too lazy to grab that one bottle that was sitting on the bottom, was he watching you then? Is he judging you for all of that? It's just a really silly narrative that he's watching all of the time, because no one's perfect. No one does everything exactly right on point. Maybe not nobody. There's probably someone out there. But you understand the point that I'm making. And whenever they take this position of, oh, there's this supernatural, all-knowing, omniscient being that exists out there, and he is so happy and pleased, and it's so comforting to know that he's watching me now. Well, is it comforting to know he's watching you all the time? Because, I hate to break it to you, I don't think that you would really want him watching you all of the time, unless you are one of these rare unicorns that's absolutely infallible and perfect. And if you were, wouldn't you kind of be a god in and of yourself? You get the point I'm making.
It was really something. This is a picture of Fred on the day that he got baptized.
So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. But now I ask you, was it smooth sailing for Fred after that?
No, he had many challenges. And one of those was that he was losing his eyesight gradually. And that was tough for him. Here's a man who loved to learn. He relied on the sign language videos for spiritual food, and he was going blind. But he didn't give up. In his 60s, he started to learn Braille, and he also had to learn tactile signing.
Now, tactile, could you explain that?
Sure. Now, on its most basic level, tactile is signing into another person's hands so that they can feel the signs and understand what's being communicated. So that congregation there in Tennessee was just full of self-sacrificing brothers and sisters who would help him. They would go over to his house and help him prepare for the meetings by signing the information into his hands so that he would know what was going to be discussed. And then at the Kingdom Hall during the meetings, we would all pitch in and do tactile signing for him so that he could keep up and follow along with the meetings. This is a picture of him there listening to one of the congregation meetings in sign language.
If you've ever been one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you will fully understand just how incredible individual Jehovah's Witnesses can be when it comes to trying to help their fellow brothers and sisters. There's nearly no lengths that they won't go to in order to try and accommodate and be there for their friends, as it were. And it's so sad to me that they have this truly incredible record of trying to benefit and help other people. And then when it comes to someone that's not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, it is just an absolute mental, emotional, physical, practical brick wall that's put up and has a big ol' do not enter sign. Someone that's not one of Jehovah's Witnesses is like going to Chernobyl and licking the ground to them. It's like not even within the realm of possibility. And yet when it comes to helping their fellow Jehovah's Witness friends or family, they will go to almost any length. And it's just really sad to me that as someone that experiences what it's like being cast out from your own family and your friends and not being able to see like your nieces and nephews, or for some people your own children, grow up because of this ridiculous religion, it makes me so sad when we see these examples of, oh, well, we're going to be willing to do this for someone, and yet we're not going to be willing to just say hello and have dinner, or, you know, have a beer and play some ping pong with someone that's your brother, your sister, your dad. It's really wild and crazy to me. Maybe that was a lot darker of a take on this, and I'm not actually commenting on what he was talking about, but I think the broader picture here is something that we can say is truly amazing about Jehovah's Witnesses and how selfless they can be, and yet they can also be the most selfish people in the world. It's such a crazy paradox. But anyway, just my thoughts. It's just Wally. That's what JW thoughts mean. Just Wally thoughts.
You know, that shows a lot of determination, not just by Fred, but those in the congregation, yourselves as well. Thank you for that.
Well, Fred was determined, and he would be there following along with the meetings, and there might be a question, and so his hand would just shoot up. He wanted to comment, and I would see that and think, wow, Fred, he's getting it. He's still able to participate. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it is inspiring. We appreciate you sharing that. So now, in conclusion, how do you think your experiences with the sign language field have helped you to prepare for any future assignments that may come your way?
If you were looking for evidence of what I was saying earlier about this being completely scripted, here's a great example. In conclusion, that is a sentence you only utter if everything's been rehearsed. So in conclusion, yes, so you've built the introduction, the body, and the conclusion of this interview all together. I just thought that was pretty funny.
Well, I feel like it's helped me to learn to be adaptable and to remember that there's not just one way that things should be done. And also, when you're meeting new people, to really work to try to see the person and not just what you see at first glance.
Joel?
So she's really tapped into the mainframe here. There's more than one way to do something. If she could just take one step further and realize, hey, there's more than one way to live my life. There's more than one way for me to be a religious person. There's more than one way for me to explore my spirituality. Her whole life would completely change. I just thought it was funny. It's like, oh, we can recognize there's more than one way to do things within the realm of Jehovah's Witnesses, but the mode of operation is confined to those barriers. You can only be a Jehovah's Witness for there to be variety. Everything outside of that, we don't need that. But when it comes to being a Jehovah's, oh yeah, there's lots of different ways to do things. And that is just wrong. There's one, like, Jehovah's Witnesses are some of the most stringent people on planet Earth. They have a absolute hive mind, a unity of thought that is on a terrifying level. Go to a Kingdom Hall and watch them sing Listen, Obey, and Be Blessed. As someone that's never been a Jehovah's Witness, you will be scared. It will be like, whoa, are you all about to drink the Kool-Aid? Like, what's going on here? It's amazing that she could say that. And with the, like, perspective of someone that's been a Jehovah's Witness and now hasn't, I guess it's a little bit more clear, so it makes sense why she's saying that. But at the same time, it is interesting that they bring this up in the broadcast and they're displaying it just for the simple fact of, yes, there is more than one way to do things. Like your life, there's more than one way to live it. Try it out. See how it feels.
Yeah, I think about Fred a lot. He would express frustration at his situation and the challenges he was facing, but he wouldn't dwell on it. He would very quickly redirect his attention to Jehovah and how Jehovah was supporting him to get through those challenges. And getting to know him helped me to be more empathetic. But I also saw his humility and the fact that he would not give up in the face of adversity. So those are some qualities that I want to continue to develop wherever our journey takes us.
And those are great expressions. Thank you both. Thank you for sharing your story. And by the way, how do you sign thank you? Thank you.
I don't know if I'm just some sort of goofball that's an elitist, or maybe I don't have a good perspective on the world, but doesn't everyone know how to sign thank you? Like, haven't you ever been in a Costco or a grocery store and someone's wearing like a badge and it says like not hearing or something? And it's like, well, I want to be able to thank that person like I would for any other person that was ringing me out. And so I better go on Google and learn how to say thank you. Like, it's fairly ubiquitous, at least in my mind. Maybe I'm a crazy person that doesn't understand anything about the world, but doesn't everyone know like how to say thank you? It's not like a big revelation. I highly doubt that this man didn't know that before asking. I genuinely doubt that when he's asking this question, it is completely insincere. I would have trouble sleeping at night thinking that this guy that was an instructor for the Gilead graduation for these people that he's known for the last few months and knows that they know ASL, hasn't learned how to say thank you. I would bet my nutsack that this is completely disingenuous. Anyway, that was a weird, random rant. Also, the movie Coda, super good. You should watch it.
Our next guest is Brother Christopher Kitts. Before he came to Gilead, he had a very interesting assignment. Please welcome Chris.
Oh, yes, some great B-roll. That reminded me of SeaWorld, where it's like, hey, maybe if we give the seal some fish, they'll clap along. That was some of the worst B-roll I have ever seen. Someone standing there with a camera. Okay, everyone, pretend like you're laughing and clapping. Good stuff. Thank you, Watchtower. I really appreciate your efforts in giving me something to laugh at.
Chris, before we talk about your most recent assignment, I'd like to talk about your early years as a zealous evangelizer.
Okay.
So this picture, how old were you?
I was about 4 years old right there.
4 years old. And I see even back in the day that you were very fashion conscious.
Thank you. Personally, I think it's the socks with the sandals that brought that whole outfit together.
Yeah. Well, we love the picture, and we understand you had a love for the ministry too. So tell us a little bit about those early years.
These are some of my favorite interactions that happen on these. It's really why I watch the Gilead graduation, to be honest. It's when they try and take these robots that they're trying to create and then humanize them with bad jokes. It's so funny. It's like they lose all self-awareness and don't realize what's going on. People go to the Gilead graduation as one thing, and when they come out of the Gilead graduation, they are telling them to their face, you are going to change. You will not be the same person. And it's that indoctrination. And after it happens, then they're like, hey, let's try and humanize this little toaster that we've made. Woo-hoo! And it just always comes across as weird and uncomfortable. And you can see how quickly, like, he doesn't even really laugh at the joke. They show, like, the B-roll, and he's like, yeah, I've always had a fashion sense. So I was about 4 years. He just goes so quick. It's like he doesn't even realize that a joke is happening or anything. I don't know. I just found the whole little thing pretty funny. Also, I just noticed he's wearing some kind of goofy smartwatch or something. Can we really compliment his fashion sense if he's wearing an Apple Watch and a blue tie with a blue suit that's the exact same color as... I mean, I like knit ties. Knit ties are pretty cool.
2 hours later.
Maybe it's a requirement to wear a blue suit.
The following Thursday.
I think his suit does have working buttons, though.
Yeah, I always had a joy in the ministry. I loved it. It was my happy place. My mother would pick me up from school as a kid, and she would take me out with her and the other pioneers. And when I got baptized, I started auxiliary pioneering. And then as soon as I graduated from high school, I started regular pioneering.
Wow, that's excellent, Chris. Now, I understand that you also had a theocratic goal from a very young age.
Yeah. I got baptized at 10, and my circuit overseer at the time was Richard Ash. And he got down on his knee, and he said to me, Christopher, when you grow up, you're going to be a circuit overseer just like me. And his words had a big impact on my little heart. I cherished them. And I actually set circuit work as a goal.
Well, did you meet that goal?
I did, but we had a lot of work to do before we got there. In 2005, I went to the ministerial training school. And then after that, I got assigned from where I grew up in Long Island, New York, to the potato farms of Wisconsin, in a little town called Anago. I spent 3 years there, and then I went to the Amish country. I spent 6 years in an even smaller town called Neilsville, and then I spent 3 years in Wausau, little city. And that experience was amazing because that's where Jehovah gave me my training.
It wouldn't be a Gilead graduation if we didn't have someone getting baptized before they're even a teenager. I think it's part of the program now. I think if there's not one person part of the group, they probably haul someone in like, hey, we need a Gilead graduate. Can you search through those applicants and see who was baptized before they were even a teenager? So that way we can bring them on to, I can't even remember what this thing is called. Your True Life Gilead story thing. I don't know. Anyway, it's like they have to show, oh no, it's okay. You can get baptized at 10. It's all good. We accept that now. I mean, we don't believe in, child baptism, but we just encourage and try and propagate child baptism. It's a very complicated thing. There's some advanced algorithms going on here, and you mere mortals wouldn't quite understand. But don't worry, we got it.
I learned a lot about myself. Jehovah rubbed off a lot of the rough edges. I learned about faith because in those assignments, I saw Jehovah always provide me work, places to live in areas where sometimes there weren't. And
the master of time and space gave you training in random, tiny little towns in America. What? That's so uncompelling. The master of time and space and everything that exists in the universe, if he were to give you training that was truly amazing, that would really crack the magician's code. It would really open our eyes and see the truth. He gave you your training by talking about the Bible in small towns in America. That sentence is so aggravating because we could actually get a demonstration from God. Like, hey, I got my training from God, and here, I can make a portal like Rick and Morty style and go to a different dimension. That would be really astounding. And yet, no, we don't get any of that. What does God do for you? He'll send you to a small town there, brother, and there, brother, we're gonna make sure you get all that Bible training there, brother, and you're gonna be a circuit overseer in some small towns there, brother. It's so stupid.
And I saw some of my Bible students progress to baptism, and I made friendships that will last forever. And then in 2018, I was invited into the circuit work down in Richmond, Virginia. And that was amazing. I was in the circuit work there for about a year. And it was about 30 years later that I ran into Brother Ash when I was visiting Bethel. And I got to tell him he was right. And I got to share with him what an impact he had on me as a child. And it really made me think of the impact that spiritually mature ones can have on young ones, helping them to set goals that can help them have the best life now.
That's an excellent experience. Thank you for sharing, Chris. So it must have been a great moment for the two of you. But now, what surprising assignment followed that?
Yeah, I was appointed a missionary, and I was sent to the East Africa branch. And I was assigned to circuit work in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Just when I thought this guy couldn't be more of a doofus, he tops himself. I was in an area where people live, and it was hard because there wasn't places to live in this place where people live. Oh, I see Jehovah's blessing because he provided me with a place to live in a place that, like, if you were in like the middle of a forest or something, I mean, still we could find reasonable explanations for it, but that would be more interesting. Like, there's literally no one there. There's no accommodations. There's no dwelling. And you find yourself like a mansion with a pool that with a fully stocked fridge and got a guide on how to grow potatoes and rutabagas and carrots and onions. That would be astounding. But this guy's just like, yeah, I was in a place where there's a lot, people live, and there's not a lot of people that live there, and it's hard for people to live. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Maybe I'm looking too much into this, or maybe I've been watching this too long, and I'm just hypercritical of anything I see. But you know what? It's fine. We're having fun.
So from Virginia to Tanzania, that's quite a jump.
Yeah.
So how'd you feel about that?
I was excited. It was a new adventure. And I didn't know the language, so I'd have to learn Swahili. I'd have to learn Tanzanian Sign Language. So I would have an interpreter that would travel with me from congregation to congregation. So it was a new adventure with me and Jehovah, new culture. I couldn't wait.
There must have been challenges, though, and I think you related one to me or more that happened soon after you got there. So can you tell us about that and the effect it had on you?
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as I arrived in my assignment in Dar es Salaam, the COVID-19 pandemic started. And so now I wasn't going to be able to visit the congregations in person. I would not meet the brothers and sisters face to face. I would have to serve them over Zoom and over the phone. And about 6 months into my assignment, I woke up one morning and I had some pressure on my chest. And I was feeling anxiety because I was alone. I was isolated. My interpreter lived 6 hours away. He connected over Zoom and over the phone. And because I showed up to this little village the same time the pandemic started, as a foreigner, not knowing the language, it created some real difficulties between me and some of the villagers.
This is real code red worst case scenario. I can't imagine what this guy, his actual experience has been being a Jehovah's Witness. You go from all the small towns, then you're a circuit overseer for, I think, what did he say, like a year and a half? I can't quite remember. And then he got assigned to go to Tanzania, and then bang, pandemic hits, and he's sitting in his house. Even his interpreter's 6 hours away, and he just is alone in a room. I don't imagine his accommodations were that fantastic. Maybe they were. I guess that would be a little bit curious, but it wouldn't really matter because a sense of loneliness would still be very palpable. And you don't speak the language, you don't have any friends there, you can't actually go and visit the congregations. One of the only perks of being, I guess, a circuit overseer is that you go visit congregation to congregation. They kind of take care of you. You're kind of seen as this celebrity for your little 4-year stint there. You move on, and bada bing, bada boom, you go to another place where you're treated like a celebrity. People make you lunch, people drive you around, people kiss your ass. It's cool. But this guy didn't get any of that. He just got thrown through the ringer. It was like, okay, you get a year and a half or whatever it was to be a circuit overseer in Virginia. There's your little bit of happiness. Now let's rip that little bit away from you and send you over to Tanzania. And then bang, the pandemic hits and he's completely isolated. It sounds like a really brutal experience.
So I was feeling anxiety. I was feeling alone. There were times I was scared. And for one of the first times in my life, I was feeling depressed. So I went to Jehovah in prayer and I asked him, did I do something wrong? Should I go home?
Chris, that must have been such a difficult time. How did Jehovah help you?
Jehovah's amazing. He helped me right away see what the solution was. I was giving so much in the assignment. I needed more time alone with Jehovah. So I started waking up at 5:30 in the morning. And that's early for me. I like my sleep. But it was what I needed. I'd make my coffee, and I would go outside, and I'd watch the African sun wake up. And as I would watch the sunrise, I felt peace, because I felt like Jehovah was right there with me.
This guy's got some real zingers. Apparently, there's a difference between the American sun and the African sun. A real Bill Nye himself here, dropping some astronomy bombs right on our little tiny lima bean brains. I guess I need to travel to Tanzania so I can experience the African sun, because I don't really know what the American sun looks like.
And it grounded me. It put me in the right frame of mind to start my Bible reading. And so before I started, I would say a prayer to Jehovah, and I asked him, Jehovah, talk to me. Let me hear your voice. And then I started my reading, and I would read until I found something that applied to me. And then I'd stop, meditate, and think about it, and talk to Jehovah about it.
This is so stupid. I would read until I found something that applied to me, and then I would stop. So you're literally just looking for something. That's like, I went to the grocery store and I stayed there until I found onions, and when I found them, I left. And it was all because of God. Like, wait, whoa, you just made a huge jump there all of a sudden. Like, God's talking to you because you bought onions? It's so dumb. Like, he has not thought any of these sentences through. But clearly, as I've said before, these things are rehearsed, they are practiced. He has actually taken the time to think this through. He is, like, speedrunning becoming a governing body helper because he seems completely delusional. Like, just in every way. He seems like he is just ready, ripe for the picking. He needs to be a governing body helper like tomorrow, because he is going to be the new face of the organization. If this organization still exists in a couple of years, this guy, no doubt, is going to be one of the higher ups in my mind. And maybe this take won't age very well in 5 years or so, but holy moly.
And that really brought me peace. That helped calm me down. And I would be reading, and there were times where it was as if the words would pop off the page. For example, there was one morning where I was in the book of Lamentations, chapter 3.
Well, God damn it. I noticed that Bible at the very beginning, but I didn't want to say anything or pause the video. I'm like, they probably just have it there as a stage prop. But my initial reaction was, I bet one of these goofy goobers is going to grab that Bible and it's going to have a marked page in it. So, God, when I make these predictions, I should just like make it's YouTube. I can just edit it out if I'm wrong. Oh well, anyway, I did notice that and I didn't say anything, so now I look like a real moron. But let's see what Lamentations has taught Mr. Chris here.
And I was reading in verse 22, and it said there, "It is because of Jehovah's loyal love that we have not come to our finish." And when I read that, I thought, Jehovah's protecting me in my assignment. And then it said next, "For his mercies never end. They're new each morning." And that was true. I was seeing Jehovah's mercy every morning. His undeserved kindness was painting me a new sunrise. But verse 24 is what changed my life. It says, "Jehovah is my share." Jehovah was with me. And it says next, "That's why I will show a waiting attitude for him." And it was like Jehovah was saying, "Chris, just wait. Don't give up." That brought me so much peace after I read that scripture. My anxiety went away. The fears that I had were gone. And as long as I maintained that routine, I didn't feel depressed.
This guy is terrifyingly delusional. I don't even know like what to make of what he just said. I was seeing that every day because I woke up early and saw the African sunrise. What? Like, what is wrong with your gray matter? Like, where are your neurons firing? There's definitely some disconnect between your ability to understand reality and the words that are coming out of your face right now there, big guy. This guy is actually scary. Like, really genuinely scary. Like, I know, like, Jehovah's Witnesses and, whenever they make these videos, people look super culty. This person looks culty even for a Jehovah's Witness, which is really saying something. But maybe I'm the only one that's, like, getting these horrible culty vibes, but my lord, this is, like, really nerve-wracking stuff.
I just continued in my assignment. I found that I had more energy to give the brothers and sisters. I was able to spend more time shepherding. And on Saturdays, I would spend time with the young ones on Zoom and listen to their stories and find out what were they doing to help them get through the pandemic. And their answers built my faith.
There's a 0% chance that this person should ever be on a Zoom call with children. Just going to throw that out there. There was some weird vibes I got when he brought up the circuit overseer. And yeah, Wally's personal opinion, but he seems kind of creepy. He should not be allowed. I have no reason or basis to say that, but I think there's better things that your kids can be doing on Saturday than talking on Zoom with this guy. Just my personal opinion. Even if I was a Jehovah's Witness, I think I'd be like, yeah, we're really not gonna let you go door to door with this guy. Don't know anything, just throwing that out there.
Chris, I believe you were going to share one of those, a picture of one of those beautiful African sunrises with us. Is that not true?
Yeah, that picture doesn't even do it justice.
Yeah. Well, I can see why that would help you. And we don't typically think of the book of Lamentations as a book of comfort, but that's a great scripture to remember. So thanks for sharing that with us. Now, Chris, as you look back on your journey, you definitely had some high notes and some low notes. So what lessons have you learned?
I learned that love transcends language. Love has the ability to bypass the mind where words are formed into sentences, and it can pierce right into the heart where emotions and feelings come from.
So he is genuinely setting the any percent speed run world record for becoming a cult leader. You can see it right there. I've learned that you can bypass the mind. You can bypass the mind and go straight into your emotions. And those emotions will make you a loyal Jehovah's Witness. And it's so comforting to know that.
I needed an interpreter to translate my words. But love needs no interpretation. Those brothers and sisters could see how much I loved them as I struggled to learn their language. And I saw how much they loved me as they patiently worked with me and helped me. And I could see Jehovah's love for them. It was coming off the pages of the Bible as we read them scriptures. And I could see their love for Jehovah as they implicitly followed the direction from the governing body. They viewed it as coming from Jehovah, and they followed it even if it came to them at a cost.
The longer this interview goes, the more, this guy is as culty as they come. They see the governing body as speaking for Jehovah. The commands aren't coming from them. They see it as coming from God, even if it comes to them at a cost. Even if it has a negative effect on their life, even if it puts them in a bad situation, they are willing to follow the governing body. And that is what true love is. I've learned the value of love, and love is following the governing body. This is mind-blowing. This man is maybe like top 10 most delusional people that I've ever seen on any Watchtower produced video ever. And that's really saying something. But this guy's terrifying, like actually truly scary to me.
And I also learned that you can see Jehovah in creation. And you can hear his voice in your Bible reading. And you can feel his love coming from the brothers and sisters, even over Zoom.
This guy is an actual echo chamber for the governing body. I think I'm right here. He is definitely going to be on the branch committee. Give it 5 years and he's going to be a helper, if not on the governing body himself. He is like an absolute ass kisser, a ball licker for the governing body. It is insane. It's just like whatever they say, this guy's going to repeat. It is wild, this dude. Wow, I'm glad I watched this. Sometimes when I'm watching these videos, I'm like, God, this is just annoying. This one was actually genuinely interesting because of this little dude.
And this assignment taught me that even if you feel lonely, or if you're isolated because of a pandemic, or you're in prison bonds, you're never alone.
Chris, thank you for sharing your illuminating story with us. Thank you very much. So, could you hear it, friends? As you saw, each of our students had a unique journey in their service to Jehovah. Things didn't always go as planned. There were some setbacks and there were some tears. But in each case, they fully relied on their Father Jehovah. And with his help, they got past those low notes. And we can too, because Jehovah greatly values not just our accomplishments, but the journey itself.
Yes, the all-knowing, most powerful being in the entire universe, in this entire, well, not even in this dimension, of all dimensions and realities, is looking at you, and he values not just, what your service, but the journey that you, or not just your accomplishments, but the journey. Your life is nothing more than a documentary. He is just sitting back eating his popcorn like, hey, this is pretty entertaining. Look at the hell that this guy has been through. Oh, is he crying? Wow, what a loser. What an absolute moron that guy is. Oh my God, wow. What is he talking about? God is sitting back and appreciating the journey. Why don't you just help? Do something about it. You can do literally anything and everything. If you can spawn a universe, you could spawn a friend for this dude. You could spawn a nice house. You could, there's literally, your imagination is the only thing that's holding you back. And even that wouldn't be enough at what God could accomplish for people that were suffering and trying to do his will. It's so insulting to anyone's reasonable intelligence. I swear, if I had to put up with this as a Jehovah's Witness, there is a 0% chance I could deal with it. I don't think I would have ever made it as a witness in the age of the JW broadcasting, because I left in like, as it was sort of picking up steam, and I never really liked it. I would skip as many as I could. I didn't enjoy them at all. And my God, are they just continuing to get worse and worse. Like, it actually feels like you got like Mike Tyson punching my intelligence here. It's so stupid. Oh, God. Why does it feel like they continue to use the exact same little B-roll thing of them clapping? It's like they did it in one take and were like, well, I think we need to use this clapping more than once. I guess I could go back and actually do the due diligence here and see if it is literally the same clip of them clapping every single time they show this. But one thing I wanted to note was it looks like the group of Gilead graduates was a little bit smaller than it normally is. It looked like it was like 15 people maximum there. I guess in my mind I always remember seeing like the picture, you know, growing up of my great aunt that went to Gilead. I think she was in the same one that Toni Morris was. I could never actually figure out if that was the same one because, well, obviously I don't have access to any of that information because my parents don't talk to me. But I think in one of like the broadcasting or an annual meeting or something, Toni Morris talked about when he went to Gilead, and I thought it was the same one she was. But anyway, it doesn't much matter. I just remember seeing like a picture of like, you know, like 50 people or something, you know, like a big class. And this one looks kind of puny in comparison. So I don't know if they're downsizing it. I know they're trying to make the Gilead more about sending branch committee or, you know, assigning them, oh, you're a branch committee member now. You're a branch committee member now, because they're trying to get more corporate men like our buddy Chris over here. So that way they are the ones heading up all the branches around the world. But anyway, that is this section of the Inside Story. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a wild, wacky time. And yeah, I'll see you around for the rest of the Gilead graduation. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, be excellent to each other.